whisper beneath the Ghats. After traveling for almost 800 kilometers from Delhi, I reached the religious capital of India, the city of Varanasi. There's a century-old story that once Ma Parvati, wife of the deity Shiva, lost a bangle in the river Ganges. Unable to find it, she cursed the Manikarnika Ghat on the banks of Ganges with everlasting death pyres. It is said that since then this particular ghat was under the influence of a strong curse that brings misfortunes to those who interfere with the sacred rites. I could instantly feel a heaviness in my throat and the weight of century-old rituals in this city. It was the last day of Shivratri, a Hindu festival celebrated in the honor of Lord Shiva, and the streets were bustling with devotees. The chants of Har Har Mahadev and the smell of burning incense and flickering pot lamps made the city felt alive. Making my way through some old alleyways and crowded roads, I finally reached the sacred river of Ganges. The riverfront steps, the Ghats, were lined with pilgrims offering prayers to Lord Shiva. The river came alive with floating diyas and people traveling in old wooden boats. At some distance I could see pyres, hundreds of them being prepared as the final resting place for hundreds of bodies, and some of them were burning. Despite all the celebrations, the sight of the pyres unsettled me as I moved through the crowd. A strange undercurrent, a brief tension filled the air as I moved closer to the Manikarnika Ghat. Finding solace from the noise of the city, I decided to sit and spend some time on the very edge of the Manikarnika Ghat. Introspecting as I looked at the burning pyre, I couldn't help but feel the weight of mortality pressing down upon me. The river lapped softly at the shore, and it stretched out before me, silent and empty. That's when it happened, a faint, silent, almost incomprehensible rise and fall of the steps beneath me as if the stairs breathed. A cold breeze gushed against my face. I paused looking at the burning pyre and turned sharply to look at the dark, mist-shrouded river. Where did all the floating diyas go? I quickly looked at my phone and it was 3:03 a.m. in the morning. Just how long was I sitting there? This felt wrong, very wrong. I had no sense of time for the past 7 hours. How was this possible? Just as I was questioning my thoughts, it happened again. The stones shifted as if they had a pulse, like lungs taking in shallow breaths. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and for the first time I noticed it, the whispers, the faint whispers in the air. At first it sounded like the rustling of the river, but as I listened longer they became more tangible, as if the river itself was speaking to me. The words felt ancient, incomprehensible, yet they filled a deep, primal fear within me, a fear that the very earth beneath me was alive. I quickly stood up to leave the place, but the stones beneath my feet rippled fanatically. The whispers became a deafening chorus. My legs froze in place against my will and my body trembled as the air grew thick with an unnatural force. In the distance, from the depths of the river, I caught a glimpse of it, its eyes that didn't belong to this world. Its shape so vast, so incomprehensible that my mind refused to register its form. Its presence felt ancient, as if it existed before the river, the city. My vision blurred, darkness creeping in at the edges as the whispers wrapped my throat, suffocating me. My mind flashed back to the smoke from the burning pyre, twisting and rising into the night sky, like a soul being torn from this world. It haunted me now, the fleeting nature of it, the vanishing into the void. I realized with a sickening clarity that this was how my life was going to end. Like smoke disappearing into nothingness. I accepted my fate just as the stones beneath me shuddered again, when something unexpected happened. The air cackled with energy behind me as if something far more older, protective was behind me. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. The eyes in the water flickered with what I could only describe as fear. And in a moment, everything was gone. Whatever had saved me was gone. Whatever was beneath the Ghats disappeared. I collapsed to the ground, no longer feeling the weight of the darkness or the suffocation of whispers around my throat. I quickly ascended the steps, running back to the streets with my heart pounding in my chest, my body drenched in cold sweat. The Manikarnika Ghat was behind me now, but the unease lingered. Even now, as I sit here, writing this, the memories of the smoke, the eyes, the divine intervention continues to haunt me. New story. Late one autumn night, I finally settled into bed after a long, exhausting day. My old house, with its groaning floorboards and whispering walls, had always felt a bit eerie, but tonight it seemed different. There was a rhythmic tapping, faint but persistent, echoing through the house. At first, I tried to dismiss it as the wind rattling the windows, but the sound was too deliberate, too unnerving. It seemed to come from the attic, a place I'd barely ventured into since moving in. Summoning my courage, I decided to investigate. I climbed the creaky stairs to the attic, each step amplifying my anxiety. The attic door, stiff from disuse, resisted at first, but I managed to wrench it open. The light flickered uncertainly, casting long shadows across the room filled with old furniture and forgotten items. I scanned the dimly lit space, but nothing seemed out of place. Just as I was about to leave, the tapping started up again, louder and more urgent. It seemed to come from an old, tarnished mirror in the corner. Curiosity overcoming my fear, I approached the mirror and wiped away the thick layer of dust. The tapping abruptly ceased, replaced by a chilling silence. I peered into the mirror, expecting to see my reflection. But it wasn't just me staring back. The reflection moved independently, its eyes glinting with something sinister. It mouthed silent words that I couldn't understand, its grin growing wider and more malevolent. The image in the mirror wasn't just a reflection, it was as if something was trying to break free from within the glass. My heart raced as the reflection reached out toward me. I stumbled backward, the mirror's surface rippling like disturbed water. I fled the attic, slamming the door behind me. The tapping started again, more frantic now, echoing through the house as I locked myself in my room. I haven't been able to sleep since. Each night, as darkness falls, I hear the tapping growing louder, more desperate. I can't escape the feeling that whatever is trapped in that mirror is getting closer, and it's only a matter of time before it finds a way out. New story. The unsolved case of Chatka. This true story was told to me by my best friend 10 years back while having a cup of tea on a roadside stall in the city of Bhubaneswar, India. According to my friend, the incident described below happened to one of his distant cousin whose father was a civil servant and posted in the town of Nanded, Maharashtra. The cousin's parents were murdered in a macabre manner, yet the case remains unsolved till date. The year was 1986. In the sleepy town of Nanded in the state of Maharashtra in western India, an incident took place which shook the whole town. It was the month of September. A 3-year-old boy was sleeping with his mother in their bedroom. His father slept in another room where he used to work as well. Around 2:30 a.m., the toddler suddenly woke up to a strange sound. As the child would later describe, the sound was something akin to a soft flesh smacking against a hard object. To the child it sounded something like chat, chat, chat. The bedroom's door was open and faced a long corridor. The child sat up on his bed. Despite his age, his hackles has risen up as the bizarre chat sound came closer and closer. His heart began to pound like a piston as the sound became closer and noisier. And then he saw. Right opposite the bedroom, facing the open, was a giant starfish-like creature, greenish in color, having a large gaping maw in its center. The creature was climbing all over the wall, and whenever it did so it made the annoying chat sound. The creature stopped for a second, then seemingly glided into the bedroom and climbed onto the ceiling. The child, now petrified with fear, tried to wake his mummy by shaking her. He uttered no sound, so terrified he was. After what seemed like an eternity, the child's mother finally woke up, rather annoyed at being woken in the middle of night. When she testily asked her son what he wants, the terrified toddler simply pointed at the ceiling. When the mother looked up with exasperation, it was soon transformed to blood-curdling terror. Next morning, when the milkman came to the house to deliver the milk, he saw a child sitting mutely on the stairs outside the house. On being asked, the boy simply pointed towards the open main door. When the milkman finally entered the house, he saw a trail of blood which led to the bedroom, where he found the headless corpses of child's parents. Terrified, the milkman called upon the neighbors, who then called the police. The child was expensively questioned, but no one believed the child's account of a giant starfish-like monster eating his parents' heads. A local newspaper got hold of the story, who gave the name Chatka to the supposed monster, inspired by the chat sound it seemingly made when moving. The case was never solved. The child's grandparents took him back to their hometown where he underwent therapy for years, but to no avail. The story doesn't end here. According to my friend, his cousin did try to have a normal life, but the childhood trauma which he faced always haunted him. He ended up getting admission into an engineering college however, a month after his admission, his headless corpse was found inside his hostel room. Subsequent investigation showed no signs of anyone entering the room. This case too remains unsolved till date.